name is Robert Revels. I'm a professional artist and I'm an art professor. And I know, I hear it all the time. You don't look like an art professor, and I don't know what that means. I've taught in different departments, and I've taught in the very beginning of a student's education, right? When they come in as, we'll call them babies, right? Freshmen. And then I've worked with them all the way through their progress, all the way to their very last class. So I've been fortunate enough to have my hand in a few people's lives in a very direct way. As well as I used to do some of the portfolio reviews when young students would come in right out of high school with their parents, right? So I'm sitting there looking at portfolios, and I have to look at their parents and look at these students in the eye and really give them insight on whether or not they should come to art school, or if they're going to come to art school, what's the best department, what's the best career path, and I have to do all that relatively quickly. Well, the truth is, right, my ego says I can absolutely tell who's going to be a winner and who's not, just by looking at a portfolio. But the truth and reality is, I can't. It's humbling to be able to admit that, but I can't. I've seen people come into school where, they're like on a lower level of what you would say is a skill set, not a high level in terms of drawing, painting, anything. And they'll just stay at that bottom level for a while, and then out of nowhere, they'll just skyrocket and pass some of the people you would expect from the beginning to succeed just by looking at their portfolio in the beginning, right? I'll go into that a little bit deeper right after I continue answering this question, so stay tuned. But the reality is, the portfolio when you're young, it doesn't really show your life experience yet. There's a specific end goal that I'm trying to get people to. I teach people to work in game, film, illustration. I'm trying to get people jobs. So that's my profession, right? I am trying to make people become commercially viable artists. And so only thing I can predict is I could see, there's some potential in the drawing. I can see if there's some potential color skills. I can see if there's potential design elements in there. I can see it. What I can look at though, is I can look at the interest in a portfolio, and that can help me guide you into where you should go. Before visual development became its own department at our school, everything ran through the illustration department. So I really used to have my hands on everybody all the time. Now I teach now in illustration, game, and animation, but everything ran through illustration. So what that meant was a lot of students were influenced by each other. So some students said they wanted to get in concept art or film, game, and all of that stuff. But whenever I looked at their portfolio, they never had anything close to, nothing close to film, game art. It was always something else. It might have been comics, it might have been some sort of cute decorative stuff, but they were just following everyone else, their passion, and it seemed like, oh, I guess I'll do that to get a job, a steady job. That's the best way to go. And so when I look at a portfolio there, I can go, hey, this is not for you. You're not showing me anything here. You're not drawing it on your off time. You don't show me, I haven't seen not one thing that resonates with the words that are coming out of your mouth. Those are things that I can see and kind of help guide somebody and say, like, things aren't lining up. Let's talk about it. Why is this? Are you sure this is what you want to do? When I get a question like that, the reason why I wanted to address it is because it allows me to look into the mind of potentially not just the person who made the question, but other young artists. You're on YouTube, and a lot of times you're searching for certainty. You're searching for a way to say, hey, if I do this, this, and this, right? 1 + 1 = 2, that means I will get a job. Or if someone who is a professional looks at my work and they tell me that I'm good enough to work, then I will get a job. Or it could be fear that, is this a real viable career path? And so, but there's a fear component usually associated. The fear is the thing that I pick up on. And if there's fear, that's the thing that I can absolutely tell you, depending on how the fear is manifested, That's what I can pick up on to tell you who's going to make it or not. Looking at a portfolio gives me some information, okay? But when I teach someone in the very beginning, as well as the intermediate and advanced, but even in the very beginning, when I have someone in front of me and I'm watching them try to do the work, I look at their body language, I look at their eyes, I look at their pattern of speech, what they're saying, right? Do they fall into victim mode? Do they fall into self-deprecation as a way to deflect a critique, right? So if I critique my work and say that I'm horrible before the teacher or anyone else does, then that way it softens the blow of a critique. Yeah, I know. I didn't get to work on that. Oh, I know. Like, but more importantly, what concerns me with it is that if you repeat that sort of language, it creates this negative energy and it will cause you to not try different things. It won't allow you to push to your maximum, right? So imagine if you're driving a car, if you want to take it to red line it, you want to go all the way up to that edge, right? If you don't take it to the edge, no growth happens, right? It's the same thing for fitness. If you don't work out with the idea that you're going to failure, then you didn't really work out to get a gain. What I'm saying is all growth comes from friction and going up to the edge where you're uncomfortable and you don't like it, and then you step back, take a break, and rest. Sleep, whatever you got to do, right? So the body and the mind and all of it needs to rest. Then the next day it comes back in and now you're able to keep going, right? And you're stronger, you're better. But the students who have sort of that, I'm not good enough, I suck, like that whole thing, they don't go all out because they're scared that they're not going to make it. If I go all out and give it everything I got, I give it everything I got, but then I don't make it, what does that say about me? Maybe I wasn't good enough. And that realization is what stops people from going all in. So let's say, for example, at art school, you would think everyone who goes to art school is all in, but they're actually not. I can honestly tell you without a shadow of a doubt, I've done this so long, you get probably 5% of the students are all in. Like, they always make it, like guaranteed. I remember I gave this off the record speech once when I first started school. And I remember one student in the back, but I remember I looked at him afterwards. Like, some people were like deer in the headlights, some were not. Some people were just like, whatever, they don't really care. But I remember he looked and he was just like, had a couple of deep breaths and he was like, okay, got, man, I swear to you, immediately he got I don't want to give it all his business, but he got an internship at one of the special effects houses, one of the big ones, I'll just say that. Then immediately, as he was getting from that internship, he got offered a couple jobs, and then he eventually moved on and worked at one of the major design studios. So we'll just leave it at that. He worked there for a while, went someplace else, but he's not the only one, right? And it's so hard because sometimes I want to give people's names, but then sometimes I don't. I'm really struggling with it because I don't want it to feel like it's self-serving. So that's why I have not really mentioned some of my students' names yet, but I'm gonna tell you, the list is long. And if you look at a lot of the concept art books that are out now and probably the last 15, 20 years, a lot of them were my students. And then I'll just say that, but anyway, I'll leave it at that. I've seen a lot of talented people and a lot of talented portfolios, and I've seen a lot of these people underperform and not do much with their career. And again, this always goes back to the mindset and what you believe you deserve, you will have. And it's a really challenging thing. And it's an area that I've struggled with in my own life personally, to be honest with you. I'm not a person who lives in secrecy and they try to hide stuff and try to make things like, oh, I'm perfect. No, like, reality is like we all got issues and stuff that we have to deal with. And so we have to detach that, detangle those webs of toxicity, get that out of there, and then you can hit those marks that you need to do, like whatever it is you want to do professionally. But these videos are meant for everyone who's really passionate about this, who really wants it, and that means it's only 2 viewers or 3 views. I don't really care. These views are for the people that it's supposed to hit. Okay. Now, I'm just say this. Out of 24, 25 years, there was only one portfolio, and they were a junior, I think, right about to graduate. There's only one portfolio where I looked at it, and I saw a lot of talented people. A lot, okay? A lot of talented people, real talent, like some serious talent. But I saw one, and maybe 2, but I saw one. When as soon as I saw it, I was like, and they didn't have like all these paintings in it. They didn't have nothing like that. It's just like they had a couple drawings here and there. And when I looked at it, I was like, wow, they get it. And I can't even articulate that, but I just saw it and I was like, they're not thinking like a student. I'm looking at their art. It's like the drawing and everything about it, every component in it was like, they're on a whole nother level. And when I saw it, I was like, whew, like, okay. And you know, he was part of a little crew, and they were all really sick talented, and they all work in all the major studios, just so you know. They all work in all the major studios, so they're really good. But I remember seeing that, and I was like, okay, I'm starting this advanced portfolio digital painting class. And so all of them were in the inaugural first class of that. And the work they produced in there was pretty amazing, you know. And again, I think 2 out of those people, they're production designers now, like, which is getting up there in some of these studios, and I'm super proud of them. And let me just let you know, on Real Talk, they blow me away, meaning my skill, they're better than I am, and I'm just humbled by it. And how much of their impact is on with me? Probably none, 0. Let's keep it real. You know, I only thing I can say is that I may have offered them insight and a way to see things in a more deeper way, and provide ways to grow and challenge them in different ways that they haven't been challenged before. Is it possible to look at a portfolio and know who's the most talented? Maybe for someone, but not for me. I need to actually be with them and sit with them, and that's going to tell me everything that I need to know, because I've seen too many people. If you would have saw them at the beginning, it didn't seem like much, but when they graduated, they were amazing. If you have a passion for it, I encourage you to just keep going and doing it, and forget fear. And fear is real, because we all have it, so let's not pretend that we don't. But I have a sign at the front of my door where my daughters, when they walk in the door, it's right by their easel. It just says, "Be brave." And every time they come in, they take off their shoes, put their shoes in their little cubby little shoe thing there. There's that sign, "Be brave." When they have to go do something, we walk out the door, they gotta do something they're not ready for, I go, look at the sign, "Be brave." It's like, you know, and listen, I'm a grown man and I look at that sign every day. So doing YouTube for me, requires me to step into something that I really don't like doing. I don't like sitting in front of a camera, but I do want to help people. But this video is all about you, and go create some art, be brave, go for your goal, your passion. All right, deuces out.